And here we are in Chapter 2.
This cutscene's super long.
Combined with the cutscene to end Chapter 1 and introduce the lighthouse, which again cannot be skipped regardless of what platform you're on, to the best of our knowledge, you will not gain control until probably 2.5 minutes or so into your split. So we just get to wait about 1 billion years. Fortunately, there is a skip on the very first puzzle.
Unfortunately, it's really hard.
It is a little inconsistent.
Yeah, I just say it's hard because I'm the one who has to do the work, and I think it's hard. You can already be holding right here. You gain control before you see yourself, so if you hold right there, you're already all the way over here.
Now, we'll demonstrate the intended method for this puzzle first, which is I run all the way over to this box, push the box all the way back to the bed, use it to jump onto the bed, stand here in this little light thing, which will trigger another cutscene. Miss Ray pushes the box all the way back over. She's not going to jump up because we don't want to proceed yet. And there you go. Once again, forever taking, slow, boring, don't want to do it. Instead, we do what we call bed skip. I'm going to stand here about the middle of the room, jump up in the air, zoop. We do another zoop boost, which is where we do merge but separate immediately upon merging. The timing here is tricky. Miss Ray has to do all the hard work. If it's done properly, that happens. You end up on top of the bed, Miss Ray's still down on the floor, and she can jump up onto the table.
Let's do it again, and I'll talk through what I'm doing. Wall jump, cancel is the idea. Part of the problem is that the zoops are not consistent. So sometimes you zoop really fast, and sometimes you don't zoop as fast, and sometimes you get a little more height, and sometimes you don't. So it takes a little bit of finessing, but it's a jump, jump, cancel. I'm canceling while I'm up there.
We figure you probably have 3 or 4 solid tries at this before you start losing time. If you can do it first try, congratulations, you save a whole lot of time. Alright, we're going to go ahead and proceed from here. So this triggers a little cutscene. I am now, during the cutscene, holding zoop. Because Miss Ray is automatically, she does not control this next part, going to climb down onto the floor. And as soon as we regain control, I zoop, we start heading toward that window. Alright, this is pretty simple. We just play the game as intended. Plus a few zoops. Once you get comfortable with zoops, they become pretty basic. They just become part of your normal gameplay. There's a fun little time save there if you can pull off that jump. This next puzzle has a couple of different ways. First, I will demonstrate the intended method, which we're not going to do. You stop here, tie a knot. Oh, I died.
That's because we never, ever do this method.
I never do this.
Ever.
So you jump down, and you'll notice I hold L to stop my descent. Stop to tie a knot, jump across this gap, stop to tie another knot, and now you have a fun little bridge. And Miss Ray can jump down, and we can proceed. Don't do that. Instead, do one of these two. If you're running solo, this is a very useful method. It's very difficult to do, though. We do not do this in our co-op runs because it's not enough faster for the risk, in my opinion.
If you are running co-op. It is definitely worth it if you are running solo to learn how to be good at this.
The idea here is you jump straight down the chute, and you have enough control as you're falling, so long as you do not touch the wall on either side of that chute, that you can then get yourself over to the lip of the other edge before you get electrocuted. I'll try and do it one more time. Ta-da! Now, I'll demonstrate the method that we use in our co-op runs. I find this to be the best combination of speed and safety. Started off the same way as usual. I tied
Oh, I was zooping. Were you holding L?
No, I tied a knot because I was used to demonstrating the intended method.
Why'd you do that?
Don't do that. All right, I'm going to jump down. Try not to touch the walls. That slows you down a lot. Miss Ray is also going to jump down and hold Zoop as she falls down.
And then, because again, you zoop as soon as there's line of sight. So as soon as there was line of sight, it zooped me over to him, and then I didn't have to touch the electrical stuff.
So here in this next bit, we have another cutscene that does not allow you to see the Yarny. There is an invisible wall preventing me from proceeding, but I still have control of the Yarny. I am holding up right and mashing jump in the hopes that I am on top of a cardboard box when this cutscene starts. I got a good jump on this, which means if I can do this next section well, I do not have to pause for any of these cigarettes. I died.
That is not uncommon here.
You will not always get a good jump coming out of that cutscene, and sometimes you will not be able to avoid the cigarettes. That happens. Ideally, you will, and you will never have to pause and wait for them. This last one is always tricky. And you can make really good time through this section. Try and jump onto that if you can. It's kind of it's kind of a tricky swing. I usually don't land on that. Okay. I'm having a rough time. There you go. Proceed from here. I'm going to play the game as intended for a little while.
For like 10 seconds.
There's a zoop. Now, here's another zoop boost you can perform. I find this is one of those things that it's good to try once, and if you don't get it the first try, just proceed as intended. I'm going to zoop.
Oh, that was a bad
We'll try
try.
it more than once just for the purpose of demonstrating it. And now I end up on top of here, and we get to skip, half of this puzzle or so. Now Ray's up there. Ordinarily, Ray would have to push this all the way back so that I could then jump up here. Slow, boring. Don't want to do it. So that zoop boost is nice if it can be done. After she gets up there, I jump down to where I am right now. I'm going to hold the zoop buttons. No line of sight right now, so it doesn't work. I'm going to start moving right. And there we go. Got the zoop. That may or may not be a tangle risk. There are some parts of this game, a pretty notorious one is actually coming up later in the chapter, where it does not appear possible to get tangled, even though it seems like you should. I'm not sure why. Here's a fun little section. If you're playing on the Nintendo Switch, these fountains do not spray water, and you do not have to worry about timing it right. Lucky dogs. But if you get good timing on that, you can proceed without needing to pause for the fountains, which is always nice. One Yarny's going to wait right there. And then zoop over. Alright, coming up we have the skateboard section. Solo major glitch runners or co-op major skip runners, if that section exists by the time you are viewing this video. You will be doing skateboard skip here. We are not going to demonstrate it for the purposes of this video. It's really fun though, and very inconsistent, which is why we do not run that category. Instead, I'm going to hop onto the top of the skateboard. When the front wheel hits that line there, I'm going to start running, and Ray's going to zoop to me. That can be a little bit of a tricky jump onto the top of the half pipe, but I find that to be a good visual cue when the front wheel hits that little wood grain line. Here's what we call bucket skip. Instead of using that bucket as it's intended, I won't even demonstrate the proper way because it takes forever, and to be honest with you, I don't remember how to do it. We climb up here.
We do 2 little zoop boosts in a row.
I'm going to stand right about here. Ray's going to stand down at the very bottom. I'm going to zoop to her. We do a zoop boost. I end up all the way up here. Wall jump. Climb up. And another zoop boost. Easy peasy lemon squeezy.
He says that. It's not easy peasy lemon squeezy. It's okay if it takes you a while to get it.
It may take you several attempts, but even several attempts will be faster than the intended method for that puzzle. Oops.
Oh.
Messed that one up.
Nets are notoriously difficult.
Oops.
They are just inconsistent as heck. I do not enjoy them. This is that point that he said looks like it's going to tangle, but never once, knock on wood, have we actually tangled there.
Every single time, I think this is going to be the one that does tangle, and it never has.
I think Metatron is the one who told us that that one can't tangle.
Oh, no, I did not short that.
Wow.
Ordinarily, that'll be a zoop. That was a bad example.
That was me thinking he was shorting it and
All
trying
right,
to
here
fix
you
it.
want to swing to the left real quick, then back to the right. You should be able to pull that off with just one left to right swing. That's a tough one, though. It's hard to get a lot of momentum built up on that rope. A couple of swings here. Grab this one, see if you can get a good swing. I did not rate it.
That's one of the beauties of zooping. You can both run, and whoever ends up ahead, the other one can just zoop to you.
So here's a fun skip. We just started doing this one fairly recently. Ordinarily, the intended method is to grab this with R2 or RT, pull back a little bit, jump onto this, and proceed. That is not slow, necessarily, but it's not as fast as this skip. I'm going to jump, I'm going to zoop,
Zoop
cancel, and as soon as Miss Ray cancels me, I press R2 or RT to grab that anchor point. One more demonstration.
This is the most common zoop cancel type of thing that we will do.
Zoop cancels are best used and probably most commonly used for added height. If you can't jump high enough to get something, like I can't jump high enough to get that anchor point up above me, that gives me the height to do it. Miss Ray zoops to me, and we proceed.
And we do another zoop cancel here with one added layer.
I'm going to stand right about here. Miss Ray's going to start pulling that. Zoop, cancel. Oops. If you don't get it the first time, that's okay. Now, I like to try and land on top of this, because that allows Miss Ray to zoop to me. If you don't land on this, if you fall down the other side, that's okay. Just hold L2 or LT and let the other Yarny climb up to you. Then proceed. Here's another excellent example of swinging followed by zooping. Really simple, really fast. Here's a neat trick. This car runs you over. If you separate at the right moment, the second Yarny does not get knocked over by the car. Saves you maybe a second. Doesn't often work. That's okay. We're going to jump up and grab this. Try to do that as quickly as you can. Oops. Now this puzzle has a few different ways you can attack it. Ultimately, what you need to do is lower this. That Yarny jumps out of the cannon, up over it, and then the other Yarny needs to get up. The intended method is to just climb up, like so. And that's all fine and good. Will you jump down? There's a couple different ways you can do it. Sometimes, if you can get into the cannon fast enough, you can make it over. That's kind of tough.
Uh-oh.
Oh dear. Okay, restart the checkpoint. That's pretty tough to get into the cannon quickly enough. So this is the method we use, which is also somewhat risky because you risk tangling on this zoop. I think that resulted in a tangle. It did. So that's the risky part. We'll demonstrate that one more time since we have to restart the checkpoint anyway.
In a real run, we likely could have run far enough to touch the next checkpoint, reload from there instead of having to do this puzzle again.
That little glowing fairy indicates a checkpoint. I didn't make it. So that's okay. Let's do it one more time. In a run, because I didn't make that zoop, I probably would have just climbed L up. It loses a little bit of time. That's okay. Oh, there was
let's
another
see if we
tangle.
can get this checkpoint.
So we're going to try and get to this next checkpoint. Great, we made it. We restart the checkpoint.
Then we're already over here.
And we're already over here.
Oh.
I don't know why Miss Ray did that.
Because I forgot that we were merged, because we're never merged.
All right, so one Yarny is going to wait here. This is another neat little puzzle skip involving a zoop cancel. Miss Ray's going to stand over there. I'm going to zoop to get some added
Jump
height.
Cancel, and zoop back up.
I'm going to grab that anchor point. And I'm going to try not to swing slowly so that I can get enough momentum to get up and around.
Like I said, zoop cancel is definitely one of the most common things that we do throughout this entire run.
Here's just some good old-fashioned swinging. Try to do it faster than that. This one is deceptively difficult, because that second... Whoops. I rest my case. This second anchor point is up pretty high. You need to make sure you get a good swing there.
And another zoop cancel here. Just like that.
Oops. Ah. Usually I don't end up in that hole there. This there is no good skip for. You can always try for a zoop skip. We have found that it is not fast enough or safe enough. So we do this puzzle as intended.
And Muskie did time it.
Well, that's a problem.
I just L up. A Metatron, like, there is a zoop cancel that will get you up here, and a Metatron and Muskie did time it, and I think that it took exactly as long as doing the actual puzzle if you got it right first try. So, not really worth it.
On this next screen, you cannot jump right away for some reason, so you always have to kind of wait for a second. Make sure you clear that cigarette, grab that anchor point, move along. Alright, one Yarny wants to stay low here on this net, then go in between these two, and then hang out right about here. That zoop is pretty risky that I just performed. You can often end up tangled, but if you time it well, you should be okay. Here's another one of those where the intended method is to build a bridge down at the bottom. I'm not going to demonstrate it. It's very similar to the last one. I'm going to jump down. I'm going to hold L. I'm going to swing over. I'm going to stay down near the bottom so that when Miss Ray zoops to me, it decreases the risk of tangling on this object here. If you do get tangled, chances are very good you will have enough yarn to reach this checkpoint. You can reload the checkpoint, move along your way. Jump over this cannon while still zooped.
So I can unmerge and already be moving before he can even stand up.
Now, this cannon can be done with just one Yarny. We do not do it in our runs. There are some runners who do it. Miss Ray could jump into the cannon from where she is at right now. It's a little bit tricky, though, so we don't bother. I'm going to jump in, get myself wrapped around this beam.
I'm holding L.
Climb up the beam. Miss Ray's going to jump into the cannon now as soon as I get up there. I'm going to push this cannon over. Jump down. You could attempt a zoop here so that you can cancel what we call fall damage.
But it often tangles.
Very high risk for a tangle for a pretty low reward, saving just a second or two. So we do not personally go for it. And that's the end of Chapter 2. Short cutscene.
And back to the lighthouse.
And remember, as soon as the lighthouse loads, you can pause, quit to the start screen, reload your save file, beginning after Chapter 2, all the way through after Chapter 7. There is no post-Chapter 7 cutscene that needs to be skipped
That we
anyway.
time. We don't time it.
Now, we're not going to see it because this is a loaded file that we've already beaten this chapter for. But if you are running on PC, almost certainly faster to save right now, quit to start screen. If you're running on a PlayStation 4 with a hard drive, it is a time loss. If you're running on the Switch, it is a time loss. If you're on a PlayStation 4 Pro with a hard drive, time loss. PlayStation 4 Pro with an SSD, faster. PlayStation 5, if you have one of those, by the time as of the recording of this video, that doesn't exist. But a PlayStation 5 presumably will be faster. It comes with a solid-state drive pre-installed. Next video will be Chapter 3.